Welcome to the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. My name's Nick, and Elizabeth, she's off this week. I got the mic all by myself. I don't have to fight with her for headphones or my spot in the studio. It's just me and a guest, so this is good. You can follow us on social media. We are at Fancounters Live on Twitter. We have a huge Facebook group. If you search Fancounters, and our private little tiny group is called Sharpie Nation. So if you want to get the dirt on the behind the scenes, join Sharpie Nation on Facebook. Now, today on the show, I've got Chad Michael Collins joining me. Now, you would know him from his starring role as Gunnery Sgt Brandon Beckett in Sony's guerrilla warfare film franchise, Sniper. He's also in a new video game. He's the star of the video game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which comes out today. Go get the video game, and you can play as our guest today, Chad Michael Collins, who's the lead star of that video game. We're going to hear behind-the-scenes details of what it's like to create a video game as the main character. I think that'll be kind of neat. We also are going to talk a little bit about television. He's been on Two Broke Girls, MacGyver, multiple CSI episodes, NCIS, 90210, Castle, Bones, and many more. And we want to hear all about those experiences as we get through the show today. So without further ado, here is Chad Michael Collins.
Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is Fancounters with Nick and Elizabeth on the Podfix Network.
There was this mob of people, and they're screaming my name.
Crazy fans.
Stop following me. Don't come around my house. If you do, the cops are going to be at yours.
If I'm having dinner with my wife, don't sit down at my table. Don't follow me into the bathroom.
Can I take a picture? We're gonna. Oh my God.
I think this guy wants to fight me. Ended up being a fan.
I'm the only one that's ever been on Sam Jackson and lived to tell about it.
Well, guess what? I have a big surprise for you.
That's why we call it Fancounters.
I don't think you're going to last on the air very long.
Chad Michael Collins, welcome to the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Excellent. Now, after reading a lot about you this week to prepare for our call, I've really got a lot of things I want to know. So, for starters, you were born in upstate New York, but you moved to L.A., but not to become an actor. You started out as an assistant to a publicist, but that probably was or wasn't your original goal.
That is absolutely correct. I've had a weird, wonderful journey into acting, and it all started with being a journalism major in college and never acting a day in my life, and landing in LA and working in the entertainment industry, and slowly finding my way into acting class. And fast forward a decade later, and here we are.
Now, you were told many times that you really should try acting, so finally you decided I should go for it. So do you remember what your first audition was for and how that went?
I do. I had no business auditioning at that point. I had taken maybe one or two classes, and they weren't audition classes, so I was really ill-prepared for what an audition is actually like. And I'll just tell you, they're pressure cookers. They're not that much fun unless you have a lot of experience doing them, and it can make them fun. So, yeah, it was for some kind of a non-union short film project, and I went in and probably just completely bombed. I obviously didn't get the part. So,
when you finally did get a part, though, were you afraid when you stepped on set that you wouldn't really have all the film lingo down? I know you had worked, obviously, in the publicist's office, so you had been on red carpets and that kind of thing. But when you're actually in a production, were you kind of afraid that you wouldn't know what to do when you were told to do something?
Yeah, I ended up getting my first role, which was a lead role in you're probably familiar with the Sharknado movies and stuff like this.
Oh, yeah.
There's a production company that kind of does these sort of movies. They're called mockbusters. They're called The Asylum. And so, if Thor 3 comes out, they're doing kind of like a cheapo version of Thor, timed for the same thing. And it's very low budget. And I was fortunate enough to book a role on one of their movies called Legion of the Dead. And it was kind of a bit of a knockoff of the Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser that had been going strong at the time. And you're absolutely right. I went on set. They were like, okay, stand on your mark so we can get the frame for camera. And I'm like, I don't even know what a mark is. And this frame business, I can kind of figure it out. It was a real baptism by fire, but it was a really valuable experience. And you have to learn by doing, and I certainly learned a lot on that shoot.
Now, on the way up to your leading roles, which we're going to get to in just a couple minutes, I want to talk about some of these well-known TV shows that I've seen that you've done. You've been on multiple versions of CSI. You even made an appearance on the new 90210, Two Broke Girls. I mean, I could go on and on. But do any of those appearances stand out as memorable for one reason or another?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate to kind of bop around on, over a dozen different network television shows, cable shows. Two Broke Girls was really fun. It was the first time I'd ever done a sitcom, which is a whole different animal with a live studio audience and 4 cameras and fun stuff like that, and just the comedy nature of it. That was a blast. And I mean, Once Upon a Time was really great because I was in a bunch of kind of prosthetics and stuff like that to play Frankenstein's monster, a lot of airbrushing me into basically a walking corpse, which was really, really quite fun. And those two were really wonderful. I did a show called Last Resort that took me to Hawaii for the first time in my life for 3 weeks. So I've loved them all. They've been really wonderful. Blue Bloods, I got to go into New York City around Christmas time, which was a real treat. So yeah, I've been very fortunate to hop on a bunch of shows here and there, and each of them have been kind of their own little fun experience. But those are some of my highlights, I think.
Awesome. Now, those listening know that I always ask this of people who kind of do day play roles on TV shows, because I'm always curious about the different answers. So what has your experience been for somebody who goes on a show that has a long history? They've been doing it without you. All of a sudden you step into a role where maybe you're a featured player or something, or maybe it's a show you've even been a fan of. Do they make you feel welcome? Do you feel like you're kind of walking into a lot of inside jokes you don't get? What's that feeling like?
Yeah, every set is different, and shows like NCIS, for example, and NCIS New Orleans, well-oiled machines, wonderful people. They're just dialed into their process, and you're right. They're cranking out an episode every 8 days. They've got a whole new cast of fresh faces coming in just for that episode. So, the most important thing I think you can do in that situation when you're guest starring for an episode or 2 or 3 is to show up and be prepared and just be ready to rock. Like I said before, a lot of times it's just a well-oiled machine. They know what they want. They know how to do it. So you just have to come in, do what they ask of you, and kind of not get in the way, I suppose, is more important than trying to create some sort of Emmy Award-winning performance. If they want that from you, they'll ask for it.
So let's talk about a recent film you did called Howlers. I know that you returned from the grave to stop a werewolf biker gang. In itself, that's a good plot. But was this an Old West character set in current times? Yeah,
Howlers Howlers got a name change just before it came out to High Moon.
Okay.
And that released in I think May, and the DVD came out in like July of this past summer. So that was a lot of fun. That was an independent film where I got to play more of a cowboy kind of gunslinger character from the 1850s who hunted werewolves, took a dirt nap, was killed, buried, dead, done. We killed them all, and then he kind of mysteriously gets thrown back into the modern day, hunting werewolves again. So that was a lot of fun. It was kind of a fish out of water role, a guy from the 1850s who's now in the present day around motorcycles and vehicles and smartphones, and it was a lot of fun to shoot the old revolver and double axes and crossbows and stuff like that, kind of a Van Helsing character. So that was really really quite fun, and the movie did pretty well.
High Moon, I will definitely check that out. It sounds like that could be a video game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ripe for sequels and prequels, and people really responded to it. It's not often that you see a horror movie that kind of mashes up with an action movie and a Western movie, and we had kind of all those elements in spades, so it was really kind of a unique, fun little project.
Time travel as well. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
So today is a pretty big day for you. We've got you on the show, Chad, to talk about this new game from Activision. It's launching the newest installment of the military first-person shooter game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So congratulations on your success and starring role in that game. Have you grown up?
Yeah.
Have you grown up a gamer?
Oh, yeah, to say, to put it mildly, absolutely. You know, I caught the tail end of the Atari sinking ship, and then graduated onto Nintendo, and was a Nintendo kid growing up. Everything from, you know, your Mario Brothers to your Legends of Zelda and Contra, and then up into Super Nintendo, and then of course we got into the PlayStation stuff, and you know, I've been a PC gamer for a couple of decades now, and I still play games like World of Warcraft and stuff like that to this day. I'm a big gamer.
What's really cool about Call of Duty Modern Warfare coming out today is that people can play this game as you, which is kind of surreal, it has to be. Have you had a chance to play it yet?
I have not played our new game, but I have gone back and played the previous Modern Warfare games from the series, and they are a blast.
I was sure that you would give you a preview copy. I can't even believe it.
I think the shocking thing that people would find, or that I found when I got this part, was that these games they're done on a massive scale. They take 3 years to make, from kind of conception to execution to release. I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars that goes into these games. When I booked this part, I had to sign non-disclosure agreements, and they swore me to secrecy, and that was all without actually telling me what the game really was. I didn't know what the game was until I was on set filming, I think the second or third time, and then they kind of slowly let the actors know that this is going to be this game. So they are treated kind of like a Star Wars movie or a Marvel movie in terms of secrecy. So you can kind of, you know, put the context clues together and maybe figure out what the game could be, and I had my suspicions, but they weren't confirmed until we were well into filming. So it was a really, really fun surprise.
You are no stranger to acting in action movies. You starred in the Sniper franchise. But for Call of Duty, which is a video game, how is that acting different than a movie?
Yeah, it's very different. You know, it's really, I think it's more akin to theater in the way that you're on a motion capture stage, and there's 85 cameras covering every single angle, ringing the entire stage, and you have your movement, your marks, the places you have to go to for the scene. You have to get a clean take, and I'm talking about filming, those beautiful cutscenes in between the missions, where you've got these 2 to 5 minute interactions with the characters and everything else. So it really is like theater. Everybody has to really know their lines. They've got to know what they're doing from action to cut. Everything's kind of got to be really crisp and on point. And TV and film, you have the benefit of editors coming in to make your performance look great, or to tighten things up for you if you flub a line or stuff like that. They can kind of cut around it. So in the video games, it's a totally different animal, and it's really feels kind of more like a creative playground, and that you're actually encouraged to move around. You're encouraged to kind of infuse that life into your characters, whereas TV and film, maybe you have to be a little bit more still. The frame is really close, like on your face, so you just have to be aware of that and finding your light and everything else. With a video game, it's a totally different experience, which is really awesome.
Are you doing lines opposite other actors at that point, or are you just focused on what your actual role and lines are?
Yeah, for the bulk of the work was working with my fellow actors and their scenes and them representing their characters. And then towards the end of that kind of filming, we did come back and do a lot of voiceover work for when players are, bopping around in the missions in the game. There's a lot of stuff to cover. So basically, you have 800 to 1,000 lines of voiceover to record on top of everything, because they have to cover everything that a player could get up to in the game. I mean, a player could wander off and go take a look at this tank. Or they could go, not follow their comrades and just go disappear into the forest and kind of like have a poke around. So you have to kind of build those lines in there, like, hey, over here. Hey, focus on the mission. That sort of stuff we've got to put in there as well, which is a really, really fascinating process.
Now, before filming began for the game, you actually trained with some former Navy SEALs. Tell me what that training was like for you, and if it was surprising how much they put you through to do the role, and give me a little sense on what that was like for you.
Yeah, we had the pleasure of working with a couple of very experienced former Navy SEALs who were on set with us every day of filming, and we also got a couple days with them before we started really rolling the cameras. A big credit to Activision. You know, what they're aiming for in this game is realism. They really wanted to make basically a playable Zero Dark 30, a playable lone survivor, you know, one of these really gritty studio big budget action films, but you just get to play through it. So it's really like an interactive movie. So they, of course, did their homework and brought in the best of the best to educate us as much as they could in terms of getting things right. And so we literally got on stage with our plastic guns, and we did a bunch of tactical movement, everything from how you would sweep a room to clearing corners, how you properly hold things, how my character Alex, being CIA, would hold his gun differently than a freedom fighter like Claudia Dumit playing this character Farah. They're resistance fighters. They would hold their guns differently. So we covered everything in total detail, which I think is going to add a really gritty, real element to the game itself.
You've mentioned a lot of things that fans are going to love about this game. Anything in particular that they should maybe, and you might not be even able to spill the beans on this, but what surprises might be in store, or what would you like to say to pump people up for playing this game?
The game is, the fans are already beyond excited just because Call of Duty has so many games under the umbrella of Call of Duty. There's Black Ops, there's Ghosts, there was Infinity Warfare, which took place in the future and in space. But Modern Warfare has always kind of been the most popular, the most critically acclaimed, the most commercial success. So fans are already going nuts because it's been 8 years since the last one. And I can't say much, of course, but what I can say is what the developers have said, what our director Taylor Kurosaki has said, and that it's a reboot of this franchise. And that doesn't mean you're not going to see some familiar faces. They've already kind of put Captain Price, the iconic British SAS character. He's the face of this game. Barry Sloane did an unbelievable job playing him. He's on the cover. So that's a really nice, obvious touchstone, harkening back to the old, 3 Modern Warfare games. But there could be some surprises. You could see some familiar faces. The developers have hinted that you might see some characters pop up from the original franchise. And I think a lot of fans have their suspicions that there's a lot of fan theories going around who those characters might be. Not that I can say anything. Not that I even know. I still don't really know.
That's awesome how much it's still a surprise for you, too. That's pretty cool. I'm excited for the game.
Yeah.
On Fancounters, Chad, I love to talk about fan experiences. That's kind of the hook of our show. And I know that you were recently at Bubba Fest. You've been to many fan cons. So do any weird, creepy, or fun fan encounters jump out to you as ones that you will never forget?
I got to be honest. I love interacting with fans. I just think it's so wonderful. It still blows my mind that people care, about what I do. I mean, I do acting because I love it. And it's really nice to hear from fans when you affect them in a certain way or you appear on their favorite show that they love. So I've not had a lot of weird encounters. Everybody, for the most part, is very lovely and kind and thoughtful and appreciative. I feel like the weird stuff is maybe reserved more for social media just because there is no censorship there and people can just kind of go for it. And that includes, and again, they're very rare, but requesting pictures of your feet and stuff like this.
Really?
I guess you're into what you're into. Yeah, apparently celebrities with feet are our thing. And I've certainly gotten requested, or if I was in some kind of a photo shoot where my shoes aren't on.
Oh my gosh.
For sure, there's a whole bunch of people coming out of the woodworks that clearly noticed my bare feet. So that's been an interesting, kind of hilarious part of fan culture that I was not aware of.
Well, I will give you that. That is a weird one. Do you consider yourself a celebrity?
I mean, I really don't. I suppose because I'm in the public eye, that qualifies me, but I certainly don't put myself on the level of, your Brad Pitts or your Chris Hemsworths and stuff like that. So it's kind of a weird thing to wrap your head around. But yeah.
Okay.
Not there. Not quite there.
We talked about social media just a second ago. You mentioned it, and there's a fan that made a post on your Twitter that posted a computerized mosaic that this person made using your photos. So when you see tributes like that, what kind of things go through your mind? What do you think about when you know that somebody took a lot of hours to put that together?
Yeah, it's really quite cool, and I find it very endearing and very appreciative, and I also get to steal it and post it for myself, which saves me from having to take selfies, which I'm not very good at, and stuff like that. But they come up with amazing edits and, GIFs, and is it GIFs? Is it GIFs?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's both.
Jury's out on how you actually say it. Yeah. They do all these really cool mock-ups and markups. I had one woman who kind of found some sort of website, or maybe she designed it herself, where she took some of my characters from shows and TV shows and movies, and turned them into little Funko Pops.
Oh wow!
Which were super cool. And I've gotten wonderful kind of gifts and stuff like that. I really don't encourage fans to send me anything because I'm not a stuffed guy. Mm-hmm. But one woman, super talented, she does these custom Funko Pops that you can kind of order and commission, and she made one of my Frankenstein character in Once Upon a Time and sent it over to me. And it was really, really impressive and very, very cool. And those are just kind of things that just why I hold kind of the fans so close to my heart.
That's really cool. Have you ever found yourself to be starstruck around anybody?
Not really. I keep quite a bit of a level head about me. And, having been in LA for as long as I have, I mean, you go to Whole Foods and, there's an actor and there's an actor and you're filming on, you're filming a Paramount or Sony and whatever, and you're seeing, I was having lunch with a producer from one of the Sony movies, and I was on the Sony lot a couple of months ago, and Woody Harrelson just strolls in. He's got to eat lunch too, so it kind of becomes the norm. And I think when I was young and I was still kind of interning and being an assistant with a publicist, I remember going to an event and Cindy Crawford was there, and like teenage me for about 5 seconds. I was like, this is amazing, just to be 10 feet, next away from her. But then it went and passed. She's just a normal person like everyone else, and it just kind of, you realize like, everybody's got to poop. So, that moment of levity. We're all kind of the same. We're more alike than different.
Well, and I think fans have to remember to be careful. What you just said, everybody's human. We all do the same things, but to not creep out. Like if you would have been really, weird around Cindy Crawford, she would be uncomfortable, and you don't want to make your favorite celebrities uncomfortable either. You
don't, and you don't want to take mace or pepper spray in the face either. Something I try to avoid as a personal policy. So yeah, you got to keep it in check.
One of the cool facts that I found out about you when I was reading another interview that you did deals with some philanthropy you've done. As you achieve your dreams in the entertainment industry, you're also helping others. You mentioned that you've donated money to crowdfunding campaigns that raise funds to create independent films and projects, which I think is pretty cool. So what projects do you look for? What attracts you to fund a project? Or maybe you can tell us about some types of projects you may have funded.
Yeah, that's, let's draw that down to scale. Obviously, I'm not Rockefeller here. You can throw millions into something.
No, I wasn't trying to infer that, but I'm sure that you just participate in their reward categories and that kind of thing. But
yeah, I just think, living and working in this industry, you meet so many people, and everybody's here doing this thing because they love it. They're trying to create their own film or TV shows or what have you. And I just find that rather than generically donating to a charity, and they're all worthy causes, and there's so many great things to be able to donate and give to, you can't obviously do them all, or else you'd be living on the street.
Right.
But I just really find that I get a lot of joy helping friends of mine fund their films. Like, hey, here's 20, here's 50, here's whatever. Mm-hmm. Get your film going, create this opportunity for yourself. Have fun. Indie filmmaking is such a struggle. It's such a grind. Unless you're in it, you have no idea how difficult it is to get a project off the ground. So many moving parts. There's never enough money. And I just really find that I enjoy supporting, my fellow actors and people in this industry with, helping them get, inch a little closer to their dreams and their passion and their supporting their creativity. So I just always find that that's, for me, something I enjoy doing, and it just goes a long way. Even $10, $20 towards, a $10,000 short film really can help, move the needle. So it's something that I've always liked to do and always encourage others to do, and it's paying it forward in a way.
I love that. That's great. Got 2 questions here before we end. Kind of some fun ones. Halloween is going to be this week, so it always makes me think of movies and traditions that I always carry through. I do love watching scary movies in the month of October and have been doing that all month long. What Halloween movies stick out in your mind as some of your favorites?
Halloween movies.
Or scary movies.
Scary movies, Halloween movies. I love the John Carpenter stuff. His stuff's always been a favorite of mine. Our High Moon film has kind of a John Carpenter kind of 80s retro vibe to it, which is a lot of fun. I'm trying to think. Halloween's great, but it's one of those holidays for me where it's like, oh, it's Halloween this weekend. I guess I should throw a costume together on 4 hours' notice for this, party I'm going to. So I suppose I'm not much of a Halloween junkie as everyone else is.
Okay.
But I certainly do appreciate it. And, I feel like if I'm going to watch scary movies or whatever, I like the creatures, man. I like the vampires. I like the werewolves. I like the classic sort of monsters, and I'm a little biased. I got to play Frankenstein in a TV show, so I want to see stuff along those lines.
Excellent. That's very cool. Lastly, we are a podcast. I'm always curious to know, are you listening to any podcasts? Do you have any favorites out there?
Yeah, actually I do. I probably would love to. I could probably listen to them all day long. They're so fascinating. But I'm a big fan of Bulletproof Radio, which is, I don't know if you enjoy Bulletproof Coffee, but that seems to be all the rage around the world. There's a guy named Dave Asprey who is, he's a genius biohacker. He's always on the cutting edge of like science and nutrition and stuff like that. I like Joe Rogan's podcast. I like Tim Ferriss's podcast. These guys who are like really achievers, and they're all about systems and processes and how to work smarter, not harder, whether it's your body or your career or this or that or whatever. Mm-hmm. And there's quite a few great entertainment podcasts out there, some of which are done by actors. One Broke Actress is one that I enjoy. My friend Ryan Little, who's a super talented director and producer, he is got one called Filmmaking Friends, where he talks to people on all levels of the industry. And it's really, really wonderful. I think as an actor, if you're not listening to stuff like this and really learning about the business and hearing people's stories and taking that for yourself, that you're really doing yourself a disservice. And so I always try to keep my finger on the pulse with being open to learning more and hearing from other points of view. And, it kind of went a long way to getting me into the actor's driver's seat, just coming from a different perspective in the industry. So those are the type of podcasts that I like to listen to.
That's great. And see, that's why I'm asking this question, because I've never heard of Bulletproof Coffee. And then the 2 other ones you mentioned that I wrote down, One Broke Actress and Filmmaking Friends, are definitely ones I want to check out. So to know others that are out there, because sometimes it's hard to find those lesser known shows, just like, we have trouble getting found too. But then once people tell friends, our network, and we grew. So that's what it's all about. So I appreciate you sharing those names with us.
Yeah, well, I'll certainly share yours too. People need to be listening to actors talking about their fan experiences.
Exactly.
It's a crazy world. It's fun.
It is a fun world, which is why I asked you, because you've gotten some really big roles, and I think it's a fascinating question if people consider themselves a celebrity. I've actually never asked anybody that on the show before. It's kind of one where I'm like, I really want to know, like, do people think, I have to, I guess I am a celebrity, so I have to act a certain way or whatever, but then that could take away from who you really are. So just trying to get views on that is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think it's always a fine line, and it's probably just all relative, right? Like Brad Pitt's been hounded by paparazzi and stuff like this for so long that it's just kind of the new normal to him, right?
Yeah.
And
yep.
For me, it's all relative to scale. And yeah, I guess you are, since you're just kind of on the TV box and everything else. But yeah, it's just kind of hard to think in those terms, although I'm sure there's some people who are celebrities in their own minds, even though they don't have the credits to warrant that. But, to each their own.
Chad, I really want to thank you for taking this time to talk with us and being on the show, and we're excited for your game launch today, and really, thanks for taking time out of your busy day to be a part of our show.
It's such a pleasure, Nick. Thank you. Very excited to be playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare myself, so I can learn these secrets that I haven't been told. So I'll be experiencing it right along with you and everyone else as we go here.
My thanks to Chad Michael Collins for joining us on the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. Really do appreciate his time and talking to us. Today's a busy day. His game comes out today. Go get it. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is in stores now. Hopefully you've pre-ordered it and it will arrive at your doorstep. But if you haven't, go out and get it today. You can find us on social media. We are on Facebook. Our huge group there, over 30,000 people, is at Fancounters. If you want to join our small group and get in on some intimate discussions about our shows and our guests, you can join Sharpie Nation, kind of like you sign autographs with a Sharpie. So it's Sharpie Nation on Facebook. It's a private group, but request to join and we'll let you in. And then finally, if you have any guest suggestions or if you have questions, any comments, send them to us. hello@fancounters.com. We do love hearing from our listeners. Each email is read, and I respond to as many of them as I can. So drop us an email if you have a moment. That'll do it for us this week. Make sure you join us next week for another new guest here on the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. Enjoy your Halloween. Get lots of candy, and try not to get a stomachache. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.